Okay, so second of two figures that I'm going to open on this May the 4th. Uh, if only I had some Star Wars figures to open, but I just haven't seen any Star Wars stuff that I've really wanted recently. But we do have from the Mcfarlane Superpowers line, we have Kilowog of the Green Lantern Corps. You see, like they didn't even really have a Kilowog logo they could use, so it just says the Green Lantern Corps there. There were four figures in this latest batch of Superpowers that I picked up from Amazon, and I already opened Manga Batman, and then we also have Brainiac, and finally Blue Beetle. So I will save Blue Beetle for last. So we'll probably do one of those on Monday, since today's Saturday, and I usually don't do one on Sunday. I might do one on Sunday this week just because I'm off Sunday, but I don't know. So you can see that this character is pretty massive. Like if we compare him to Brainiac, and granted Brainiac's a little on the small side, but he's still like, pretty freaking huge. And we've got other members of the Green Lantern Corps that we can compare him with in a little bit. So, and I've got one other figure I'm going to compare him with. We'll get to that when we get to that. So here's the cross-cell artwork on the back. You can see this line is growing in leaps and bounds. We have some vehicles on the back with the Whirly Bat and two new vehicles on this assortment, which would be the Beetle's Bug and Brainiac's Skull Ship. I won't be reading the list off on these like I was in the early days of this line, because it's just getting to be too many characters. But we do have, I will point out, three different members of the Green Lantern Corps between Kilowog and Hal Jordan and John Stewart, and, well, one Green Lantern villain, but two different versions of him with the classic Silver Age version of Sinestro and the Sinestro Corps version. So let's go ahead and read the bio on the back. A brilliant geneticist on his home world of Bolavox, Vic. Sorry, that's two words. It threw me off for a second. I'm used to planets being one word. Kilowog species is supposed to be a simple species, and then they have such a complex name for their planet. A brilliant geneticist on his home world of Bolavox, Vic, Kilowog served as the Green Lantern of Sector 674. Following the destruction of his planet during the events of Crisis on Infinite Earths, Kilowog trained new Green Lantern recruits, teaching essential tools to survive the most dangerous job in the universe. Kilowog has been a fan favorite character since he was introduced. One thing I should point out is I noticed that the Green Lantern logo on here is the exact same one that's on the first issue of the Green Lantern Corps comic book from the 80s, which is not a #1 issue. It carried over from the Silver Age Green Lantern series numbering. So it's basically still the Silver Age Green Lantern series. They just retitled the book. But if you look at that first issue of the Green Lantern Corps, the logo is colored exactly like that. So I don't think that's a Kilowog on there, although it's definitely a more modern piece of artwork than you might expect. It's not like an 80s looking Kilowog. It's got like some of that I don't think it's Ethan Van Sciver, but it's got some of the kind of detail like he brings to the Green Lantern characters. Anyway, let's go ahead and open them up. And thankfully the glue does seem to be rather strong on this package. This is not like the Bronze Age Batman where that thing was falling off so easily, which is good because this guy is so massive that he would just tear right off the card. I don't think they'd even be able to hang these things on the shelf for like 5 minutes if it was on that Batman type of packaging. So, but still was able to keep the artwork as about as well as can be expected, I guess. So we'll set that card aside and take Kilowog out of the package. No rubber tabs, still made a lot of noise. Man, the bubble seems really thick. It almost seems like I think they might have doubled up on the bubble here or something. No, it's just a thick bubble. Yeah. Crazy. Anyway, we'll put that back together, that new recycling later. All right. So here he is, and this is a huge figure. This is entirely new parts, I think. The only thing I can think of that he might share with any character is maybe he might have his thighs in common with that New 52 Dark Side. I don't know where mine is at the moment, so I can't compare. But I don't think it's the same thighs. It's just if there are any parts in common with any other figure, it would have to be that, because these are clearly boots that are made to be Kilowog boots. These are clearly hands that are made to be Kilowog hands, right down to the power ring and the 3 fingers, and the way that his collar is sculpted onto the figure. This is basically like they can only use it. Maybe they could kind of like, there's a big guy in the Sinestro Corps, and there's Atrocitus. Maybe one of those guys could reuse some of these parts, but with a lot of these figures, they've been reusing a lot of parts. And I've noticed lately, as the line continues, maybe it's doing well enough, maybe they're making enough money off of it that they feel like they can justify just straight up new sculpts. That's one of the reasons I'm saving Blue Beetle for last, by the way. If that's not a tease, I don't know what it is. And if you want to make sure you catch that, make sure you like, subscribe, all on YouTube stuff down below. I'm not done talking yet, though, so we'll repeat that again at the end. Now, while I don't know where that New 52 Dark Side is, it's somewhere around here. I'm pretty sure I packed it up when I moved. Even if I wasn't that crazy about the figure, I do have one other figure to compare it to, and this is the original Dark Side from the Kenner Superpowers line. And not only is this the original Dark Side, this is my childhood Dark Side. This is the one that I played with when I was a kid. And it's the only superpowers that I have left from when I was a kid, other than Superman, which I have Superman somewhere, but I'm not sure where he is. And we can see that Kilowog stands about the same exact height as Darkseid and is a lot bulkier. I think this figure is what they would call a loss leader. Like, they probably spent a lot more money on Kilowog than they did any other figure in this wave. You have Batman, who's a straight-up repaint, and then you have, I believe that Blue Beetle is an entirely original figure, too, and Brainiac, if he's not an entirely original figure, definitely has a lot of original parts to him as well. But we'll discuss that more when we get to that figure. But yeah, it's an entirely original sculpt, and it's a huge figure. They probably used twice as much plastic on this guy as they did any other figure in this line. So let's go ahead and talk about his articulation. His head is technically articulated, but his neck is just so darn thick, and I'm afraid I'm going to break it off because it feels like the joint is kind of gummy. But technically his head should move from side to side, but it just seems to kind of want to rotate back to where it was. So I don't know, I might have to hit that with a hairdryer later. I'm not too confident about that joint. Arms rotate all the way around, of course. Basic 80s style action figure articulation. But does Kilowog really need a lot of articulation? Like I was talking about with the multiverse figure, which is much bigger and much more highly articulated. Even with the articulation that he has, he's so muscle bound. You can only get him into so many poses. Legs kick up about that far, and got about 90 degrees of articulation at the knee. Kind of hard to tell that you do because of how bulky his legs are, but trust me, that's about 90 degrees of articulation. And his leg can swing back about that far, so he can do the splits no problem. Even with being as big a guy as he is, he's pretty limber as far as that goes. So the paint detail is really good on this guy, and it's one of those where, like, you know, it's a deceptively simple kind of paint application, but they've got the black around his eyes and the little white dots in there. It looks really good. The Green Lantern emblem is complaint is that, like with this Hal Jordan, they've got this same shade of green that I didn't really like on this Hal Jordan on Kilowog, and I would have much rather they stuck with the green that they used on John Stewart because to me that's like a much better Green Lantern kind of green, just really vibrant emerald shade, like almost like a Lincoln green. Whereas this one's kind of almost like a little more sort of olive drab. I don't like that one quite as well. It just doesn't seem quite as quite as vibrant. And to me, Green Lantern, you would think a guy with the word lantern in his name, yeah, he should be like a vibrant sort of guy. So like I said, Green Lantern, Kilowog is probably one of the most popular of the Alien Green Lantern characters. I would say probably the most popular at this point. I don't know if he's my absolute favorite. I'm a big fan of Tomar Ray myself, but he definitely is one of my favorite Green Lantern characters, and I really enjoy having action figures of him. I do feel like of all the Alien Green Lanterns, he's the one that works best as an action figure just because he's so big and bulky. Oh, yeah, here's the original superpowers Hal Jordan next to Kilowog, so we can see what that looks like. And I got one other Kilowog here that we can compare him to. So I almost forgot I had this guy. There's the movie version. And you can see like the movie version even is almost as big as the superpowers figure. I was thinking about just displaying this guy with the superpowers because I did feel like, he's probably almost big enough to do that. But then when I saw that Mcfarlane had their version coming out, I decided I could just wait for that one. Yeah, like I did kind of think like they could have done a better job with the design of Kilowog in the movie. Like you see his ears are kind of too low on his head. He's just kind of sad. I don't mean sad as in like, oh man, they did such a bad job with it. It's so sad. No, I mean he looks like he is actually feeling the emotion of sadness. But yeah, this is much closer to what he looked like in the comic book. So I definitely like that design better. And you see how like they had his collar all high up like that. Man, I did not like the way they did the Green Lantern outfits in the movie, where they looked like just kind of like their skin had been peeled off and their muscles dyed green. That was just kind of creepy looking. Hopefully next time we see Green Lantern, not do that. I did see Zack Snyder's image of what Wayne T. Carr was supposed to look like if he had had Green Lantern in the Snyder cut of Justice League, and I thought that was pretty cool. So hopefully that can be something that they'll use in the future, hopefully. So, but yeah, Kilowog's really cool. I'm really happy to have him. Let's get a shot of all three of the McFarlane Green Lanterns that we have so far together. They look pretty good all together. I think they'd look better if they all had the same shade of green that John Stewart had, but beggars can't be choosers, I guess. So I'm just happy to have new superpowers figures at all. Oh, and let's go ahead and get him with the villain of the line. There he is next to Sinestro. And, of course, the Sinestro Corps version of Sinestro. So we got two Green Lantern villains, and they're both the same villain. But that's two more Green Lantern villains than we had in the vintage line. And Sinestro was always a character that I wanted to have in the 80s line, but they never made him, unfortunately. So I'm really happy that McFarlane finally got around to making a Sinestro. And hey, we had Kilowog, and we got John Stewart, and we got a Guy Gardner on the way. So I would say that they should do Kyle Rayner also, and then you could have all four of your main Green Lanterns of Earth. I know there's some other Green Lanterns of Earth that came along later, but really those are the four important ones. Maybe all snobby about that. Those are the four important ones. Nothing against Jessica Cruz, but she's still a little green. Well, not Green Lantern, obviously that too, but she's still a little new as far as I'm concerned. And Simon Baz was just kind of a weird character because he had a gun, like a regular 45 automatic. What if the ring fails me? Well, I guess you're screwed, dude. I mean, like, if you're in a situation where your ring is going to fail you, I don't think that a normal gun that just shoots little particles of lead is gonna help you out against, like, I don't know, Mongol or somebody. If a Green Lantern ring ain't gonna help you out of your situation, a 45 ain't gonna help you out of your situation either. I'm just saying. So you're not the Shadow. You're Green Lantern. Come on. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be back Monday, and we will open up Brainiac and maybe do another figure because good idea for me to start doubling up on some stuff. So I'll probably do Brainiac and maybe one of these other G.I. Joe figures that I've got. So I've got all these G.I. Joe figures that I've got to open now because I've been waiting on Scarlet to show up, and she finally did. So we can go ahead and get started on those. Anyway, that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe. All fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about Kilowog, both the figure and the character in general. And we will talk to you next time. Bye.